Welcome to tonight's family mediation time. I'm your old friend, whispering life stories. Tonight, we're not talking about big theories, just real stories. This story begins a few months ago. He is 35 years old, married for nearly 9 years. He has 2 children, a daughter and a son. He has obsessive-compulsive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. This is no secret, especially not to his wife. She has always told him, "Come to me with your symptoms. I will be with you. I will support you." He believed her. A few months ago, their daughter started having some urinary system issues. For a father with anxiety, this was not a small matter. It became an obsession, a spiral of panic. What if she has diabetes? What if I've missed something important? Following what his wife had always encouraged him to do, he went to her with his fear, his intrusive thoughts. His anxiety, seeking comfort, seeking support. She helped him. She reassured him. Everything seemed normal. But what he didn't know was that his anxiety was quietly spreading to her, and she didn't tell him. She didn't say, "Honey, I'm getting anxious too. Maybe you should talk to a therapist, or lean on a friend as well." She chose to carry it herself, to hide it, except from one person. She went to her sister. After listening to her, the sister gave her diagnosis. He has mental problems. His anxiety is harming his wife and children. Every time he comes to you for help, he's just playing a trick that's not real pain. It's manipulation. It's a game. The wife didn't tell him right away. Weeks later, he found out. Can you imagine that feeling of betrayal? Not that the sister said those things, but that his wife heard them, didn't push back, didn't walk away, and didn't even tell him. She simply continued to play the role of a supportive partner in front of him, while behind the scenes allowing someone else to reduce all his vulnerability to a game. He asked for a confrontation. What he wanted was simple. "Let me talk to your sister. I want to ask her what she meant." The confrontation happened. The sister didn't explain. She went straight on the attack. She cursed at him, called him a bitch, said his anxiety was destroying the family. Then she started digging up the past, listing all the ways she believed he had failed. The biggest failure, according to her, last summer, during a family camping trip, he didn't help unload the trailer. Because that day was 2 days after his mother's funeral. He forced himself to go camping with the kids for them, so their summer wouldn't be completely swallowed by grief. The sister-in-law knew this. She knew his mother had just passed away. She knew he had buried his mother 2 days earlier. She still used it against him. And his wife stayed silent the entire time. He didn't get a defense from her. He didn't hear, "You can't say that to him." He didn't hear, "You know his mother just passed away." He didn't hear, "His anxiety is an illness, not a game." Nothing. Later he asked her, "Why didn't you speak up for me?" She said, "I'm on your side." What she said was really cruel, but actions, there were none. At first, she didn't even want to talk to her sister alone, didn't want to ask for an apology. Later, after intense arguments, she agreed. But the sister's response was, "I did nothing wrong. I won't apologize." So the man made a decision to draw a boundary. He no longer wants any contact with his sister-in-law. He doesn't want his children exposed to someone who treats their father with such cruelty, contempt, and lack of basic empathy. He said, "Unless she shows remorse and apologizes, my family will not spend time with her." He thought this was reasonable. He thought this was necessary to protect himself and his family. But he was wrong, at least in this family. His wife, her sister, and even the parents, all of them are angry at him. They say, "You're too controlling. You're creating more conflict. You're the root of the problem. You're tearing this family apart, separating cousins from each other." They refuse to acknowledge that the sister's behavior started all of this. They refuse to acknowledge that her refusal to apologize or take responsibility is the real reason the relationship cannot be repaired. They just keep telling him, "You are the one destroying the family." And he is just a man trying to protect himself from being hurt again. Have you ever experienced something like this? When someone hurts you, but everyone says it's because you're too sensitive, too resentful, unwilling to let go, making things worse? This is more than just injustice. It's a deep, structural unfairness. Not only were you hurt, you are now being made responsible for the hurt. So back to the original question. Is he overreacting by demanding an apology and refusing contact otherwise? My answer is no. This is not punishment. This is protection. He didn't ask his wife to cut ties with her sister. He didn't ask the whole family to choose sides. He simply said, "I will not spend time with her. My children will not be around someone who treats their father this way." That is reasonable. That is healthy. That is an adult setting boundaries after being hurt. The real issue is not that he overreacted. It's that this family is underreacting to his pain. If you are watching this story, I want to say a few things to you. First, your feelings are valid. When someone hurts you, you have the right to ask for an apology. That is not control or pettiness. It is basic human respect. Second, boundaries are not attacks. Saying "I will not accept this treatment anymore" is not creating conflict. The conflict already exists. You're just no longer pretending it doesn't. Third, silent bystanders are also complicit. If you are the wife in this story, remember, when your partner is being attacked, your silence will be understood as betrayal. You don't need to shout, but you do need to say something. "You can't speak to him like that" is enough. Fourth, family peace should not be built on one person's constant sacrifice. Real peace means everyone feels respected and safe. If peace requires you to swallow all the hurt, that's not peace, that's surrender. The second story, I want to share a letter with you. It comes from a 37-year-old woman, a soldier on active duty, and a new mother who just gave birth 3 months ago. Her story made me sit here for a long time. The story begins 18 months ago. In October 2024, she was deployed to the Middle East for combat duty. During that time, her grandmother had a serious car accident and was placed in hospice care. She took emergency leave and flew home. Her husband, also an active duty soldier, briefly came for 2 days to help pack up her grandparents' rural home, move them into a city facility, and spend whatever time he could with the family. One day, her mother suggested they go get pedicures together. She said it sounded great, because she had already promised her 9-year-old niece that they would go together after school. She assumed her mother meant that time, but her mother meant that afternoon. It was a weekday. Her niece was in school. She herself was coming off 4 days of jet lag, sleep deprivation, and non-stop physical labor, on the verge of getting sick from exhaustion. She had finally found an afternoon where she could rest. It was the only way she could keep going. She explained all of this to her mother and suggested, "Let's go this weekend, and we can bring your granddaughter too." Then her mother said something she would never forget. "Why do you hate me so much?" That was the last thing her mother said to her during that entire trip. For the rest of the time, she had to find other places to stay. Thankfully, other relatives understood her mother's behavior. She stayed with different family members and spent time across different branches of the Houston family. When it was time to return to deployment, she took an Uber straight to the airport instead of saying goodbye to her parents. After deployment ended, she tried reaching out a few times. No response. Her number was likely blocked. But she knew her mother was still keeping track of her life through other relatives, her first pregnancy. Every major milestone, just silently. Around Christmas, her baby was born. A boy. She created a private album app for him and added her mother. Almost every day, she could see her mother viewing the photos every day. She would see that tiny profile icon appear in the viewer log, and her heart would break into pieces. Before Easter, her mother finally sent a message on WhatsApp saying she would be in Houston for the holiday and had heard they would be there too. She thought this meant her mother wanted to see them. But when she and her husband arrived in Houston, they found out her parents were staying on the other side of town all weekend, gathering with relatives. While they, with their newborn, were placed elsewhere. Her parents waited until Monday, after they had already left, to go visit her niece, her mother's other grandchild, her brother's daughter. "Didn't even let my dad see his grandson," she wrote. Her father stayed in contact, calls, messages, but he avoids conflict at all costs. When she mentioned that her parents had already seen the baby before they arrived, he just gave an awkward laugh. She didn't think much of it at the time. Later, she understood what was hidden in that laugh. My dear friends, this story reminds me of a phrase, the temperature of an iceberg. On the surface, this looks like a war over a pedicure. A mother cuts off an entire relationship because her daughter didn't follow her schedule. Refusing contact, refusing to meet, rejecting her own grandchild, even preventing her husband from seeing the baby. 18 months. A baby conceived, born, and now 3 months old. Is this really about a pedicure? No, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Below the surface are decades of patterns. The writer herself said it clearly. This behavior is not new. I've always had to walk on eggshells around her. Walking on eggshells, you never know which step will break something. In psychology, there's a concept called narcissistic injury. When someone places their emotional needs above everything else, even a small no, like a tired daughter wanting to take a nap, gets interpreted as "you hate me," because in their world, your needs don't matter, only theirs do. And when they feel hurt, they don't communicate, they don't express. They use silence as a weapon, absence as punishment. This is emotional Cold War. And the cruelest part, she still looks at the baby's photos every day. She's watching, just watching. But she refuses to step in. The second concept I want to talk about is a mother's sense of entitlement. The writer said something at the end that stayed with me. She said, "I don't want to let her be my mother anymore. I hoped she could redeem herself as a grandmother, but now I don't see that possibility." This is a 37-year-old woman, a soldier returning from combat, a mother of a newborn. She has faced life and death on the battlefield, yet at home, she faces another kind of crater. It's not that she doesn't want a mother, it's that she has finally accepted she never truly had one. But here is a painful truth. You cannot make someone become who they do not want to be. You cannot use photos of a grandchild to fill the emptiness of a mother's heart built over decades. She can only give what she has always given: coldness, control, an occasional silent observation. And you have already given everything you could. You invited her into the album. You waited 18 months. You even hoped for reconciliation before Easter. You've done enough. The third concept is the right to cut off. She said she wants to remove her mother from the album. She said, "I don't want her to spy on our baby and our happiness." Her husband asked her to wait. I understand that wait, it comes from kindness, from hope, from respect for blood ties. But I also want to say this to her: how long you wait is up to you. Some doors are closed not to punish those outside, but to protect those inside. Your baby needs a warm environment, not one shadowed by emotional Cold War. And your heart needs a place to rest. You've been fighting for 18 months. You can put your weapons down now. Finally, I want to say this to all of you. Family is not a competition of who suffers more. Sometimes the most mature form of love is allowing someone to be absent from your life without blaming yourself for it. Not every mother will change. Not every wound will heal. But you can choose not to let her silence become a permanent echo in your heart.